The day my father told me I was no longer his daughter was the day I learned I had never needed his approval to be worthy. Olivia Bennet never imagined that a single sentence could change the way she saw her entire life. The Bennet estate had always been a place filled with beautiful rooms, expensive decorations, and family portraits that showed generations of success. But on that quiet evening, standing in the center of the grand living room, Olivia felt more alone than she had ever felt before. Her father, William Bennet, looked at her with a serious expression. There was no anger in his voice, only a cold decision that hurt even more. "Olivia, the Bennet family has a reputation to protect. You are not the daughter this family needs." The words remained in the air long after he finished speaking. For 22 years, Olivia had tried to become someone her family could be proud of. She studied harder, helped with family responsibilities, and always put others before herself. She never asked for expensive gifts or special treatment. All she wanted was to feel like she belonged. But no matter what she did, she always felt like the person standing outside the circle. Her siblings were praised for their achievements, while Olivia was quietly ignored. She was called too gentle, too emotional, and too ordinary. Her father believed that kindness was not enough to carry the Bennet name. That night, he gave her a small suitcase with her personal belongings and asked her to leave. Olivia held the handle tightly, trying to stay calm. She wanted to ask why. She wanted to know what she had done to deserve being forgotten by the people who were supposed to love her. But when she looked at her father's expression, she understood something painful. He had already made his decision. The heavy front doors closed behind her as she stepped outside into the cool evening air. The lights of the mansion remained bright behind her, but they no longer felt like home. Olivia walked down the long driveway alone, carrying everything she had left. She expected to feel broken. Instead, after a few minutes, she felt something unexpected. Freedom. For the first time in years, she did not have to prove herself to people who refused to see her. She could finally discover who she was without the weight of the Bennet name. Olivia found a small apartment in the city and began rebuilding her life. It was not luxurious. The space was simple, and every dollar mattered. But it was hers. She started working at a local community center, where she spent her days helping people who needed support. There, no one cared about her family name. They cared about the way she treated them. They saw the patience, compassion, and intelligence that her own family had overlooked. Meanwhile, across the city, a powerful man named Emperor Adrian Blackwood was facing a problem of his own. He had wealth, influence, and everything the world believed someone could want. But behind the walls of his empire, he carried a loneliness that no one noticed. He had met countless people who wanted his power, but very few who cared about the person behind the title. He did not know it yet, but the woman who had just lost everything would soon become the one person who could change his entire world. And Olivia Bennet had no idea that walking away from her family would be the first step toward finding a place where she truly belonged. After leaving the Bennet estate, Olivia Bennet thought the hardest part of starting over would be learning how to live without her family. She was wrong. The hardest part was learning that she had spent years trying to earn love from people who never took the time to truly know her. Every morning, Olivia woke up in her small apartment before sunrise, prepared a simple breakfast, and walked through the busy streets of the city with a quiet determination. Her life was different now. There were no grand halls, no family meetings, and no expectations placed on her shoulders. Instead, there were ordinary people who smiled when they saw her, coworkers who appreciated her efforts, and strangers who thanked her for the kindness she showed them. For the first time, Olivia was surrounded by people who valued her for who she was. One afternoon, while working at the community center, Olivia noticed an elderly man struggling with a stack of papers outside the entrance. Without hesitation, she helped him organize everything and listened as he explained his concerns. She did not know that someone nearby had been watching the entire moment. Across the street stood a man wearing a simple dark coat, quietly observing the scene. Most people would have noticed his presence immediately. His appearance carried confidence and authority, but Olivia did not look at him twice. She was too focused on helping someone who needed her attention. That man was Emperor Adrian Blackwood, the ruler of the powerful Aurelian Empire. Unlike the rumors that surrounded him, Adrian was not interested in attention or admiration. He had spent years surrounded by people who wanted something from him. They wanted his influence, his wealth, or a connection to his power. Very few people ever looked beyond the title. But Olivia had done something different. She had treated a stranger with genuine kindness without knowing who he was. Later that day, Adrian found himself thinking about her. He wondered who she was and why someone with such a gentle heart seemed completely unaware of her own value. A few days later, their paths crossed again during a charity event connected to the community center. Olivia was surprised when the quiet man from before approached her. "You helped someone who had nothing to offer you," Adrian said. Olivia smiled politely. Everyone deserves help when they need it. Her answer was simple, but it stayed with him. Adrian had heard thousands of impressive speeches from powerful people. Yet those few words felt more meaningful than all of them combined. During their conversation, Olivia still had no idea she was speaking with one of the most influential people in the world. She only saw a thoughtful man who seemed to carry a heavy responsibility. Adrian, meanwhile, saw something he had not found in years. He saw honesty. As they continued talking, he discovered that Olivia had once belonged to the Bennett family, one of the most respected names in the country. He was surprised to learn that someone so compassionate had been pushed away by the very people who should have protected her. But Olivia did not speak with bitterness. She simply said, "Sometimes people cannot recognize something valuable until it is no longer in front of them." Those words followed Adrian long after they parted. He had spent his entire life searching for someone who could understand the person behind the crown. He never expected that person to be a woman who had lost everything and still chose kindness. And without either of them realizing it, their meeting was about to change the future of both their lives. The days after Olivia Bennett met Emperor Adrian Blackwood felt strangely different. She did not know why a simple conversation with a stranger had stayed in her mind, but there was something about him that felt familiar. Despite his quiet confidence and the way people naturally respected him, Olivia sensed a hidden loneliness behind his calm expression. She had no idea that the man she spoke with was the most powerful ruler in the world. To her, he was simply someone who seemed to need a genuine conversation. Meanwhile, Adrian could not stop thinking about Olivia. He had spent years surrounded by advisors, nobles, and people who carefully chose every word around him. Everyone saw the emperor first and the person second. But Olivia had done the opposite. She had never asked about his wealth, his position, or what she could gain from knowing him. She had simply treated him with kindness. For someone who had everything, that simple kindness felt rare. Adrian decided to learn more about her life, but he wanted to do it carefully. He did not want Olivia to see him differently because of his title. He wanted to understand who she was when no one was watching. Through his foundation, Adrian discovered her work at the community center. He learned that Olivia often stayed late to organize programs, helped families find resources, and encouraged people who felt forgotten. The more he learned, the more he realized that Olivia possessed qualities that many powerful people lacked. She did not seek recognition. She did not expect rewards. She simply believed that helping others was the right thing to do. One evening, Adrian invited Olivia to a quiet dinner at a private restaurant. When she arrived, she was surprised by the elegant setting, but Adrian quickly made her feel comfortable. Their conversation was not about status or responsibility. Instead, they talked about dreams, memories, and the things they hoped to accomplish in life. Olivia admitted that leaving her family had been painful, but she also explained that she was slowly discovering herself. "I spent so much time trying to become someone my family would accept," she said. "Now I am learning that I should have accepted myself first." Adrian listened carefully. Her words touched something inside him. He had spent his own life carrying expectations as an emperor. People depended on him, but few people cared about what he wanted. For the first time in years, he felt like he could simply be himself. As their connection grew, Adrian realized that Olivia was not someone who needed to be saved. She was already strong. What she needed was someone who believed in her. A few weeks later, Adrian finally revealed his true identity. Olivia looked at him in complete surprise when she discovered that the man she had been speaking with was the Emperor of Aurelian. "Why did you not tell me?" she asked. Adrian answered honestly, "Because I wanted you to know me before you knew my title." That answer changed the way Olivia saw him. She realized that behind the power and reputation was a person who wanted the same thing she did: to be understood. Soon after, Adrian made an unexpected proposal. He offered Olivia a place beside him, not because of her family name, not because of her past, but because he believed she was someone who could stand beside him as an equal. Olivia was overwhelmed. She had spent her entire life feeling like she was never chosen. Now, the one person who had no reason to need her was the person who saw her value most clearly. And as she looked toward a future she never imagined, Olivia wondered if this unexpected connection was the beginning of something that would change both of their lives forever. The weeks that followed Adrian Blackwood's confession changed everything for Olivia Bennett. She had entered his world believing she was only meeting a powerful stranger, but now she understood the truth. The man who had listened to her dreams, respected her choices, and treated her like an equal was the emperor of the Aurelian Empire. Yet despite his position, Adrian never made Olivia feel small. He never wanted her to stand behind him. He wanted her beside him. The idea of becoming part of the royal world felt overwhelming. Olivia had spent most of her life trying not to take up space, trying not to create problems, and trying to make others comfortable. Now, she was being asked to step into a place where everyone would notice her. "I do not know if I belong there," Olivia admitted during a quiet walk through the city. Adrian looked at her with a calm expression. "You have been proving that you belong everywhere you go. You just never believed it yourself." Those words stayed with her. For the first time, someone was not asking Olivia to change. He was reminding her that the person she already was had value. When Olivia accepted Adrian's invitation to visit the royal palace, she expected a world filled with cold traditions and impossible expectations. Instead, she discovered a place filled with people who had their own stories and responsibilities. Adrian introduced her carefully, making sure everyone understood that Olivia was not there because of her connection to him. She was there because he respected her. Some members of the royal council were uncertain at first. They wondered how someone from a quiet background could understand the challenges of leadership. Olivia did not try to impress them with titles or complicated speeches. She simply listened. She asked questions. She shared ideas based on her experiences helping ordinary people. Slowly, the doubts around her began to disappear. Adrian watched from a distance as Olivia connected with people who rarely felt heard. He saw the same quality that first caught his attention. She had a way of making others feel important. During a formal gathering at the palace, Olivia stood beside Adrian for the first time as his chosen partner. The room was filled with influential figures, but she remained calm. She remembered the girl who had once walked away from the Bennett estate feeling unwanted. That girl had believed losing her family meant losing everything. Now she understood that leaving had given her the chance to find herself. Later that evening, Adrian found Olivia standing alone in the palace garden. The lights reflected across the pathways, creating a peaceful atmosphere. "Are you still wondering if you belong here?" he asked. Olivia smiled softly. "A little." Adrian stepped closer and said, "Then I will remind you every day until you stop doubting it." Olivia looked at him and realized something important. Adrian did not choose her because she needed saving. He chose her because he saw the strength she had always carried. Meanwhile, far away from the palace, the Bennett family began hearing rumors about Olivia's new life. William Bennett saw images of his daughter standing beside the emperor, confident and respected. For the first time, he understood that the person he had dismissed was someone the entire world was beginning to recognize. But what troubled him most was not her success. It was the realization that Olivia had become everything he once failed to see. And as the Bennett family prepared to face the consequences of their choices, Olivia's new life at the palace was only beginning. The news of Olivia Bennett's new life reached the Bennett family faster than anyone expected. The same daughter they once considered unimportant was now standing beside Emperor Adrian Blackwood, respected by people throughout the Aurelian Empire. William Bennett looked at the reports in silence, unable to ignore the reality in front of him. Olivia had not become valuable because of the emperor's title. She had become valuable because she had always possessed qualities that he failed to recognize. For years, William believed success came from reputation, influence, and status. He never understood that true leadership came from compassion and the ability to understand others. Now, he was forced to face the truth he had avoided for so long. Meanwhile, inside the royal palace, Olivia continued adapting to her new life. She knew becoming Adrian's partner meant more than wearing elegant clothes or attending important events. It meant understanding the people who depended on the empire and using her position responsibly. Every day, she spent time learning about different communities, meeting with advisors, and listening to concerns from citizens. Adrian watched her carefully, not because he doubted her abilities, but because he admired the way she handled every challenge with patience. One evening, Adrian found Olivia reviewing documents late in the palace library. "You have been working for hours," he said. Olivia looked up and smiled. "I just want to make sure I do this well." Adrian sat beside her and asked, "Why do you feel like you need to prove yourself?" Olivia became quiet. After a moment, she answered honestly, "Because for most of my life, I felt like I was never enough. I think part of me is still trying to prove that they were wrong." Adrian looked at her with understanding. "Olivia, you do not have to spend your future proving something to people who refuse to see your past." His words touched her deeply. She realized that even though she had left the Bennett family behind, their opinions still affected her more than she wanted to admit. Adrian helped her understand that moving forward did not mean constantly looking back. It meant choosing the life she wanted. As Olivia became more confident, the people around her began noticing her influence. She created programs that helped families receive better support and encouraged leaders to listen more carefully to ordinary citizens. Her actions showed that kindness and intelligence could exist alongside power. The same qualities her father once ignored became the reason people respected her. Back at the Bennett estate, William struggled with his regrets. He remembered Olivia as a quiet child who always tried to make everyone happy. He remembered the moments when she offered help without expecting anything in return. He realized that he had mistaken gentleness for weakness. A few days later, William made a decision. He wanted to see Olivia again. Not because she was connected to the emperor, not because she now had influence. He wanted to speak with the daughter he had pushed away. When Olivia received the message requesting a meeting, she remained silent for a long time. A part of her remembered the pain of leaving that house. Another part wondered if the father who rejected her had finally changed. Adrian noticed her uncertainty and asked gently, "What are you feeling?" Olivia looked toward the palace gardens. "I thought I wanted this moment for years. But now that it is happening, I do not know what I want anymore." Adrian smiled softly. "That means you are no longer the person who was waiting for someone else to decide your worth." Olivia realized he was right. The girl who left the Bennett estate had been searching for acceptance. The woman standing in the palace now had something far more important. She had a choice. The day Olivia Bennett agreed to meet her father again arrived sooner than she expected. For years, she had imagined what she would say if William Bennett ever came back. She imagined asking why he chose to leave her behind. She imagined telling him how much his decision had hurt her. But when the moment finally came, Olivia discovered that the words she once wanted to say no longer carried the same weight. She had changed. The meeting took place at a quiet private garden outside the royal palace. William arrived looking different from the man Olivia remembered. He was no longer the powerful head of the Bennett family who believed reputation mattered more than feelings. He looked like a father who finally understood what he had lost. Olivia stood across from him calmly. She was not the young woman who left the Bennett estate with tears in her eyes. She was someone who had built a new life and learned her own value. "Olivia," William said softly, "I do not know if I have the right to ask for anything from you." She listened without interrupting. William took a deep breath and admitted what he had struggled to accept. He had judged her based on what he thought a Bennett should be. He had mistaken kindness for weakness and silence for a lack of ambition. "I thought I was protecting the family," he said. "But I was protecting an image instead of protecting my daughter." Those words were difficult for Olivia to hear, not because they hurt, but because they were the apology she had once wanted so desperately. She looked at the man in front of her and remembered the little girl she used to be. A child who waited for her father to notice her. A child who believed that if she tried harder, she would finally be accepted. "I spent so many years wondering what I did wrong," Olivia said quietly. "I thought I needed to become someone else to deserve love." William lowered his eyes. "You never needed to change." For a moment, the garden became silent. Olivia felt a strange mixture of emotions. Part of her wanted to hold on to the pain because it represented everything she had survived. But another part of her knew she could not move forward while carrying all of it forever. "I forgive you," Olivia finally said. William looked surprised. "Does that mean we can be a family again?" Olivia paused before answering. "It means I am willing to try, but we cannot pretend the past never happened." William nodded. He understood. Trust could not return in a single conversation. It had to be rebuilt through time and actions. From a distance, Adrian watched Olivia walk away from the meeting. He saw the peace in her expression and knew she had made the right choice. Later that evening, he asked her how she felt. Olivia looked toward the palace lights and smiled softly. I thought forgiveness meant forgetting. But now I understand it means I no longer let the past control me. Adrian admired her strength. He knew many people with power who could demand respect, but Olivia had earned it through compassion. As Olivia continued her role beside the emperor, a new challenge appeared. Rumors began spreading throughout the empire about her sudden rise and her connection to the Bennett family. Some questioned whether she truly deserved her position. But Adrian knew something they did not. Olivia was never chosen because of her family name. She was chosen because she had something far more valuable, a heart strong enough to change the people around her. And soon, the entire empire would discover why the woman they once ignored was exactly the person they needed. The rumors spreading throughout the Aurelian Empire did not surprise Olivia Bennett as much as they once would have. In the past, every judgment and every whisper had made her question herself. But now, standing beside Emperor Adrian Blackwood, she understood that not every opinion deserved the power to define her. Still, she knew that becoming part of the royal family meant accepting responsibility. Her position was no longer only about her personal journey. People across the empire looked to her as someone who represented hope, kindness, and change. During a major gathering at the royal palace, Olivia faced the doubts of those who believed she was only there because of Adrian. Some nobles quietly questioned whether someone without a traditional royal background could truly understand leadership. Olivia listened carefully before responding. She did not defend herself with pride or anger. Instead, she shared the experiences that shaped her. She spoke about the people she met while working at the community center, the families who needed support, and the importance of creating a society where everyone had a chance to be heard. The room became quiet as people realized that Olivia's strength did not come from a title. It came from understanding others. Adrian watched her with admiration. He remembered the woman he first met, the person who helped a stranger without knowing his identity. She had not changed. The palace had not made her different. It had simply given the world a chance to see who she truly was. After the gathering, Adrian and Olivia walked through the palace gardens together. You handled that better than anyone expected, Adrian said. Olivia smiled. I was not trying to prove them wrong. Adrian looked at her curiously. Then what were you trying to do? Olivia looked at the flowers along the path. I wanted them to understand that people are more than where they come from. Adrian smiled because that was exactly why he chose her. She never focused only on herself. Even after everything she experienced, she still wanted to make things better for others. Meanwhile, the Bennett family watched Olivia's influence continue to grow. William Bennett followed the news carefully, seeing how the daughter he once underestimated had become someone respected throughout the empire. He no longer saw her as the quiet girl who needed guidance. He saw a woman who had created her own path. He understood that his greatest mistake was not losing a connection to power. It was losing time with his own daughter. One evening, Adrian found Olivia reading old letters from her childhood. He noticed the thoughtful expression on her face and asked if she was feeling sad. Olivia shook her head. Not sad, just remembering. She explained that she used to believe her past was something she needed to escape. Now she saw it differently. Every difficult moment had shaped the person she became. Adrian gently reminded her, your past explains your journey, but it does not decide your future. Those words gave Olivia peace. She realized she was no longer trying to become worthy of love. She had already found people who valued her exactly as she was. But as Olivia's influence grew, another important moment approached. The empire was preparing for a ceremony where Adrian would publicly recognize the role Olivia would have in the future of Aurelian. It would be the moment when the entire world would see what Adrian had known from the beginning. Olivia Bennett was never someone who needed to be rescued. She was someone who had the strength to rise, even when everyone expected her to remain forgotten. The day of the royal ceremony arrived with the entire Aurelian Empire watching. From the largest cities to the smallest towns, people gathered to witness a moment that would become part of history. For Olivia Bennett, however, the day was not about the attention, the elegant halls, or the countless eyes focused on her. It was about remembering how far she had come. As she stood inside the royal palace preparing for the ceremony, she looked at her reflection and thought about the young woman who once believed she had lost everything. She remembered leaving the Bennett estate with a small suitcase, unsure of where life would take her. She remembered feeling invisible and wondering if anyone would ever truly choose her. Now, she stood in a place she never imagined reaching, not because she changed who she was, but because she finally found people who recognized her true value. Adrian Blackwood entered the room and immediately noticed the emotion in her eyes. "Are you thinking about the past?" he asked. Olivia nodded softly. "I was thinking about how different everything feels." Adrian smiled. "The world sees a future empress today. I see the same woman who helped a stranger without knowing his name." Olivia looked at him and smiled because that was the person she wanted to remain. The ceremony began shortly after. As Adrian introduced Olivia before the people of the empire, he did not speak about her family background or her connection to him. Instead, he spoke about her character. He spoke about her compassion, her dedication, and the way she inspired others through simple acts of kindness. The crowd listened as they learned that Olivia was not chosen because she needed a powerful person to change her life. She was chosen because she had already built a life based on values that mattered. Across the hall, William Bennett watched silently. He saw the respect Olivia received, but more importantly, he saw the happiness in her expression. For the first time, he understood that his daughter had never needed the Bennett family name to become someone remarkable. She had always carried greatness within her. After the ceremony, William approached Olivia. This time, there was no request and no expectation. He simply wanted to express what was in his heart. "I am proud of you," he said quietly. Olivia looked at him for a moment. Those words were something she once waited years to hear. But now, she did not need them to feel complete. "Thank you," she replied. "That means more than you know." William realized something important. He could not change the past, but he could choose what kind of father he would become from that moment forward. Later that evening, Olivia and Adrian stood together on the palace balcony overlooking the lights of the empire. The view was breathtaking, but Olivia's attention was not on the city below. It was on the person standing beside her. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we never met?" she asked. Adrian looked at the horizon. "I think we both would have continued searching for something we needed." Olivia smiled. "And what was that?" Adrian turned toward her. "A place where we could be understood." Olivia realized that she had spent years searching for acceptance from people who never saw her clearly. But now she had something far greater. She had a life built on respect, a future filled with purpose, and someone who chose her every day. Yet as the celebration ended, one final truth remained. The greatest change was not that the world finally recognized Olivia Bennett. The greatest change was that Olivia finally recognized herself. Years passed, and Olivia Bennett's life became something she once believed was impossible. The girl who had walked away from the Bennett estate carrying a small suitcase was now someone whose voice reached thousands of people across the Aurelian Empire. But despite the title, the respect, and the responsibilities she carried, Olivia never forgot the journey that brought her there. She still remembered the quiet moments when she questioned her own worth. She still remembered the feeling of standing outside her childhood home, believing she had lost everything. Now, she understood that moment was not the end of her story. It was the beginning of discovering who she truly was. Olivia continued working beside Emperor Adrian Blackwood, not as someone standing in his shadow, but as an equal partner who shared his vision for the future. Together, they created changes that focused on helping communities, supporting families, and giving people opportunities to build better lives. Adrian admired that Olivia never allowed power to change her heart. Even after becoming one of the most respected women in the empire, she remained the same person who once stopped to help a stranger without expecting anything in return. One evening, Olivia and Adrian returned to the community center where they first crossed paths. The place had grown over the years, but the feeling remained the same. People still gathered there looking for support and hope. Olivia walked through the building and smiled as she saw how many lives had been touched by the work she started. Adrian watched her quietly. "Do you ever miss the life you had before?" he asked. Olivia thought about the question carefully. "I miss the person I was before I understood my own value," she answered. "But I do not miss feeling invisible." Adrian smiled because he knew exactly what she meant. Their journey had never been about proving anyone wrong. It had been about becoming the people they were always meant to be. The Bennett family also changed over time. William Bennett continued rebuilding his relationship with Olivia slowly and honestly. He learned that being a father was not about protecting a family name. It was about being present, listening, and appreciating the person in front of him. Olivia did not forget the past, but she no longer carried it as a burden. She had learned that forgiveness did not mean pretending nothing happened. It meant choosing peace over pain. On a quiet morning at the palace, Olivia stood beside Adrian, overlooking the sunrise. The city below was beginning another day, and the future ahead was filled with possibilities. "Do you remember the first day we met?" Adrian asked. Olivia smiled. "You mean the day you discovered I had no idea who you were?" Adrian laughed softly. "Yes, that was the first time someone treated me like a person instead of an emperor." Olivia looked at him warmly. "And that was the first time someone saw me as more than my mistakes." In that moment, they both understood how much their lives had changed. They had not found each other because they were incomplete. They found each other because they were ready to share the lives they had built. Olivia Bennet was no longer the daughter waiting to be accepted. She was a woman who knew her worth, created her own future, and found a home with people who truly valued her. The greatest lesson of her journey was simple. Being rejected by someone does not mean you are unworthy of love. Sometimes, walking away from the place that refused to see you is the first step toward finding the place where you truly belong.